Hello and most welcome to half an hour of Alexander Technique. We used to have this more on a regular basis, so it's been a lapsus here, almost 6 or 7 months. We will make it a try again, and this time we will do it with a Zoom camera as well. And we will continue until approximately 4:15. If Kalle, keep the time. Thank you very much. It's about sitting today once more. And sitting is one of the most difficult things that we can do. It might seem simple, but in reality, it's very far from simple. It's a complex procedure, and neglecting its complexity will lead to devastating problems. So today, I will show you a way to avoid some of those problems. And one of the things that is absolutely necessary to go into a comfortable, balanced position is using it through something called the monkey position, doing the monkey. I will now demonstrate the monkey, and once more, I feel that it is absolutely necessary to once more point out that there is a gliding scale, not an absolute wrong or an absolute correct. I can compare it to using this cork on the thermos. When it comes to putting it on again, there is only one way that it correctly goes. All other ways are wrong. This one, that one, and so on. This is not the case when it comes to human beings. Very far from. It's a gliding scale. And I would say that is a lesson we are now also learning from Wittgenstein. Absolute wrongs, absolute rights are ridiculous. They have no place in reality. They are hinting to a transcendental, non-real, fictional world. And I once heard when I was very young, does God exist or not? And I thought it was laughable. It is absolutely laughable. I would say it's even horribly blasphemous. So treat your body as something that is of this earth. And this earth has a gliding scale. And for every time you do the monkey procedure, you will develop more skill and you will be able to go into the region of more finesse, of more skill, of more advancement. You will also, in this developing process, progress your thinking skill. That was one of the important points that both Wittgenstein and Friedrich Matthias Alexander had. It's a matter also of thinking. See the body as your soul. a real soul, not a transcendental one, and treat it with the respect a soul deserves. And a respectful way of sitting down is to begin with a monkey procedure, or henceforth I will refer to that procedure only as the monkey. See, this is the first time I'm not 100% sure I'm well in picture, within frame, I think it's called. I will do this back and forth, and I will also add some light here. Right, perfect. The monkey procedure, or the monkey, learns you that there is a joint here, the hip joint. And the hip joint is the only joint in that region. There are no others. There's no joint here, there's no joint here, and there is no joint under the hip region until you reach the knees. Nothing. So you need to progressively learn the hip joint. And it's an absolute impossibility that you will hit it directly. That is not going to happen. You will progressively learn your whole system, how holistically, if I may say so, your whole system understands the quality of the hip joint. Let's give it a try here. Stand apart with your feet, shoulder width. So there will be approximately 30-35 centimeters, depending on your shoulders. Try, if possible, to point your toes forward. And also parallel, if possible. See to that your knees are flexible, that they are not locked. How do I know whether they are locked? Well, if they're not locked, you can easily go down like this. So start out by trying to see if you have softness in this movement, that you can easily go down without there being any strain whatsoever on your knees, legs, back. So go down a little bit on your knees, and then with your head, the entirety of your head, both front and back of the head together, that need to be free. Free as to go upwards, while a slight dip beginning with the ridge of the nose. So upward like this. You keep your freedom, and do not neglect that you have a lot of free area around your back, your behind, and also above you. So area and air above, behind, and in front as well. Now, using your hip joint, nothing else. Do not bend here, here, or here. Bend at the hip joint and go down a little bit with your knees. Go forward, bring the whole body with the head leading like this, so you can touch something in front of you, like a chair. You have now arranged your back in an integrative way. It is one whole in this position. So this is a way of entering into the wholeness of the back. Leaving nothing outside of it. Allowing the back to be whole. And if you sit down in this, with this start, the back will already be in balance. So if you go down, you're lowering your knees until you are in a sitting position. You will be already at a very decisive advantage. And I will now directly feel my sitting bones. They are correctly underneath the whole above structure, nicely situated. And I continue to direct the entirety of my head, both the front, the sides, and the back of my head. And a good checkup is that the voice is continued to be normal. It doesn't go this way. You hear like this. So the voice could be a good checkup. So I will, in 5 minutes, redo this movement, and I will use 2 chairs to make it even easier to follow. And I also see that I need to adjust the camera. While sitting like this, we can check. It's a bit of a calibrator. And that is something called the whispered R. In the Alexander technique, the vowel sound of R is used because that is the vowel that opens the respiratory and speaking organs the most. It's the most open position. And the only thing you do is to check that you are free everywhere. You feel your sitting bones with your toes pointing forward. And you also feel the ground under your feet quite clearly. You open your mouth, you just let it be open. Take a breath through the nose and let the air leave the mouth at that open position. Now, after that little exercise, my voice has been altered. It is having more presence. So that whispered R, once you learn it more and more, is a very convenient and practical accompaniment to sitting on a chair or for that sitting on the floor. That is called the whispered R. You can try it out also when you're sitting down or standing, which we should try later. Before maybe the commencement of a telephone call or a speech you want to do. Like just breathe in through your nose and whisper the R. The voice should be continuous. It should have a sort of vibrato, nothing special, but you can feel the voice vibrate in this chest region slightly. I will now take myself out of this position. I do that by going the absolute opposite way that got me here. So never just simply exit the chair. Do it through the monkey. I bend forwards at the hip joint. And now you can do your whispered R on the way. And you go up again. You could hear a change in the voice, and that's me getting slightly off balance. So the voice is telling me when balance is less than when there is more tension, and opening up more, the voice go back to its more fullness. So you see it's a scale here. Like everything else in reality, it's scale-wise. See if I can use two chairs here. See, the camera needs some adjustment as well. There is anybody wondering why there are lines going over the screen? It's because of the lighting situation effects. So I would start with one chair in front of me. Now you can also see my feet. And I would have one chair facilitate everything. One chair operating behind me. And I think when it comes to the monkey, it feels like a very small movement. It feels like it's too little to do any difference. but it brings in the most important, and that is the integrity of the back, or the whole torso for that. And it relearns the body to use the hip joint in a proper fashion, or more proper. Standing in a position that is shoulder width, if possible, toes pointing forward. Flex your knees to see that there is not too much stored up tension in them. And do remember, it's bound to be tension in them. You wouldn't be a modern human being if not. And once you have a tension, flex it even more. And now, with the whole head leading, both back and front of the head, bringing in the wholeness, you bend and you flex the knees, going forward as coming down at the same time. And now you can see in the camera that integrity is being kept. My shoulders are no longer like this, exaggerating here. They are wide apart. My chin no longer stretching out. I'm leading with the head upwards even when I go down. That's a paradoxical movement, and it can only be learned. It needs to be done. You cannot, the first time, instruct yourself to do it properly. It needs repetition. I can now in the camera see that the chair is behind me, and that facilitates me going even further down, thereby finding the chair, preserving the integrity, and now I'm already sitting quite nicely. I continue in this position to direct myself. And another important hint here is the voice. If there is time, I will demonstrate whispered R from a standing position. The standing position is where we most usually find the most openness. So we can compare with a usually more crowded position of sitting down. And once more, we will do the whispered R. Breathe in, let the head tilt down a little bit. Imagine a water drop on the ridge of your nose. The wholeness of the head, back and front, goes up. Breathing. I can feel the vibrato going all the way down to the sitting bones. And now, if you have a keen ear, you would have been able to note it's slightly improved. So I done the monkey 4 times, that would mean 3 times, sorry. 3 times, and that would mean I have already invested an integrated movement. Because it's a movement to sit down. If you look for a sitting position, that you rush for the chair in order to sit and think that you can regulate the sitting position while you're already there, you're mistaken. It's in how you get down that you will achieve something that is of high quality. So now when I'm here, I will bend at the hip region, forward, and take the whole of the head and see if I can do it with a whispered R as well. As you may have noted it now, there were less of a strain in the whispered R when I got up. So the 4th time doing the monkey makes the difference. Do note that these changes might not be apparent until you train the monkey for months or a very extensive time. Do not look for immediate results. Be happy with the small results you get. But you can be convinced that the monkey is a well-established scientific practice, how the body actually works. It's not static. The body is not a transcendental platonic entity. I'll see, yeah, I got 5 minutes here and I'll do the whispered R standing. So I won't do the monkey again. I've done it 4 times. So you can do the monkey extensively during the day, but I wouldn't recommend that you do it too much either. But it would be fair enough to use it every time you sit down and every time you get up. And I let my head lead. The entirety of my head, which is the front, the nose, and the back of my head. And I think you now can also feel that the back of the head is less. It is not an absolutely fair situation. There is more in front than there is back of you. There is a natural tendency to a little tilt down. That's why we have the drop, a little drop. And that little drop will facilitate the upward movement of the head. Upwards, freedom. Let the whole of the back expand, lengthen, widen. And now, this position, you let the whispered R happen. Breathe in through the nose So for every time you let more freedom enter, making for more freedom all over the chest region. And later on, not in this class, this lesson, later on, we will also bring in the hip joint in the standing position, where it will be a bit more underneath the head and the back, like this almost. Not pushed forward too much. But that is another exercise. So do try the monkey while standing. You can add as an extra exercise the whispered R. And how is it, Kalle Lundahl? Is time up now, more or less?
Jo, det är klart.
Ah, it's 1/4. I forgot I have a watch on my hand. I say thank you very much for everyone, and have a very pleasant day, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye for now. See, I stop the recording. And be careful here now. Now I'm stopping the recording, and this is what happens. You already forget that I was bending a bit bad or not as integrated. This is called endgaming, but more about that next time.